Welcome to Lookouts and Waterfalls in the Blue Mountains, episode 23, Let Our Videos Be Your Guide. In this episode, we walk through Katoomba Falls Reserve to visit a number of lookouts from the Katoomba Falls to Reids Plateau.
Hello and welcome. We've walked a short distance towards our first location for today, the Duke and Duchess of York Lookout. That is directly above and to the west of the Katoomba Falls. We'll see that shortly. From there, we'll walk along the Prince Henry Cliff Walk to the Watchtower that is above the Katoomba Falls. Then we'll enter Reids Plateau for a solitary lookout where we might get a glimpse of the falls. After that, we'll visit Katoomba Falls Lookout for a good look of the falls. Continuing briefly along the cliff top, we'll make our way to a short side track to Orphan Lookout. Our next and final stop is Witch's Leap Lookout as we exit Reids Plateau. I'll provide GPS coordinates and a map of this walk at the end of this episode. Now here is how we got to the start of the walking track.
We've followed the M4 motorway from Sydney onto the Great Western Highway and will again take the left exit into Katoomba, 43 kilometres from the bridge over the Nepean River. As in previous episodes, we'll turn there several more times to visit the numerous scenic attractions around Katoomba. If your vehicle has a trip meter, set it to 0 as you exit the highway. This is a map of the roads we took to the walking track. At 120 metres at the roundabout, turn left onto Bathurst Road. At 280 metres at the second roundabout, turn right into Katoomba Street. Proceed through the shopping centre and at 1.7 kilometres turn right into Katoomba Falls Road. At 2 kilometres, turn left into Cliff Drive and find a spot to park.
The walking track to the Duke and Duchess of York Lookout is near, so off we go!
The Duke and Duchess of York Lookout is located on the escarpment between Katoomba Falls and the Watchtower. The lookout is directly above and on the western side of Katoomba Falls and part of the Prince Henry Cliff Walk. It has magnificent panoramic views of the Katoomba Valley and the scene below.
This lookout is named after the Duke and Duchess of York, who were, in 1936, to become King George VI and Queen Elizabeth I, previously known as Katoomba Falls Lookout, but most likely changed due to the absence of a view of the falls. An earlier name, published in the Mountaineer on the 4th of April 1902, was the Duchess of York Outlook. In April of 1949, to address mountain safety, a demonstration of cliff-top rescue in front of hundreds of spectators was conducted at the Duke and Duchess of York Lookout. Descents of 150 metres over the side of the lookout were made by police officers, while newsreel and press cameramen in prominent positions took pictures from all angles. Sergeant Harry Ware had 4 constables lowered in a bosun's chair, one by one, and then sent a stretcher down. He descended, strapped one of the constables to the stretcher, and signalled to those on top to haul it up. Mr. Justice Taylor, who was that morning presiding at the Police Appeals Court in Katoomba, was invited by Sergeant Ware to see for himself. Mr. Taylor was strapped in the chair, and as he was slowly being lowered down the side of the cliff, cries of, "Now what about that pay rise?" came from the spectators. When asked later by a representative of the Blue Mountains Advertiser if he had enjoyed the descent, Mr. Justice Taylor said it was quite pleasant, but would not care to go down on a windy day.
The Watchtower refers to a lookout on top of the cliff line at the end of a 45-metre side track off the Prince Henry Cliff Walk between the Duke and Duchess of York Lookout and Reids Plateau. It is a descriptive name given to this small, near round rock formation standing like a watchtower over the valley. The lookout has views towards Mount Solitary and in the foreground the scenic Skyway.
Another name for the lookout, according to Google Maps, is the Duke of York Lookout. One might think, since the previous lookout was once named the Duchess of York Outlook, and this one the Duke of York Lookout, that someone decided to attach the 2 names to the previous lookout and return this lookout to its original name, the Watchtower. What do you think? In 1897, feature names, now uncommon in this area, published in the Mountaineer, included Strangeman's Vista, Ida's Glimpse, Under the Falls, and the Neck of Land.
Our next feature on the Prince Henry Cliff Walk is Solitary Lookout. It's on a short 35 metre sidetrack on Reids Plateau and might give us a glimpse of Katoomba Falls. Regardless, we'll get a view of the valley and Mount Solitary.
We've been unable to discover the lookout's name before 1994, when Keith Rowland Painter walked the Prince Henry Cliff Walk in October of that year and named it Solitary Lookout for its views of Mount Solitary. Keith Painter is an author and publisher, writer and researcher of bushwalking guidebooks and local history books. On that momentous walk, he managed to name Lamandra Lookout, Banksia Lookout, Reids Lookout, and this lookout. Did it have an earlier name? Was the lookout's original name Top Outlook? Since in 1896 the press printed, "A little further west we come to the shelter shed, to the Top Outlook, whence we get a glimpse of the falls, and to the cosy viewpoint surrounded by rocks. Then descending to the right, we are soon in Fern Gully." This plateau, by the way, was named after George Hewson Reid, 1845 to 1918, Premier of New South Wales for 5 years, from 1894, and Prime Minister of Australia in 1904, but only for 10 months. Solitary Lookout, with a chair, so you can be solitary while you're sitting down. There's our hut again, from a different angle.
Apparently we're now on Reids Plateau Walk, and a little further after the shelter shed we'll reach a cosy viewpoint surrounded by rocks called Katoomba Falls Lookout.
Was this lookout once called Strangeman's Vista? Apparently it was located in the vicinity of Reids Plateau. Or did the visitor, in 1921, pass the clear, cool water tumbling down suddenly over the beautiful Katoomba Falls, walk along an equally cleared, defined path, wandering poetically among the stately gums and scented flowers to Reids Outlook, which commands an excellent view in the distance of people at various points passing up and down the various tracks.
So many names, so few lookouts. Strangeman's Vista Reids Lookout, Reids Plateau Lookout, Katoomba Falls Lookout. What name next week? Orphan Lookout is next and located on the southern end of Reids Plateau, where we are now. Apparently it's just below the last lookout and directly overlooked Orphan Rock, That is a large isolated rock formation below the main cliff line on the eastern side of the scenic railway.
Orphan Lookout was named in October of 1994 by Keith Rowland Painter, yes, him again, as a descriptive term for its view of Orphan Rock. For 100 years this railed point had no name, so it was probably a part of the lookout above, until Painter came along and named it Orphan Lookout. As far as Orphan Rock goes, I could spend an hour telling you about it, but here I'll only say natural giants abound in the vicinity of Echo Point, and many formations appear unconquerable to the climber, but venturesome spirits, one of whom was Captain Frank Hurley, a world-famous cameraman of the 1930s, succeeded in conquering the Orphan Rock. It's a narrow peak, several hundred metres in height, standing in the valley, separated from the main range, as cleft by a giant sword. Despite its apparent top-heaviness, it has stood through the centuries and a source of wonder to all. The Dogface Rock, now known as the Landslide, tumbled and roared into the Jamison Valley in January of 1931. But more on that in a future episode. You can see the Three Sisters from here. 2.5 sisters, actually. Orphan Rock too is feeling the wear of time and weather. In 1951, the park ranger for the area, Arthur Patterson, told the Sydney Morning Herald, "Whether new big falls will occur in our time is problematic, but that they will occur is certain." Access to the rock was closed in 1974 when a landslide obliterated the access track.
In another minute or so, while still on Reids Plateau Walk, we'll reach Witch's Leap Lookout. We've been told we'll see the top of Witch's Leap, the falls on the opposite side of the ravine called Fern Gully, now on our left. There's a handy bench there to sit on and soak up the serenity. As you can't see Katoomba Falls from this spot, it tends to be nice and quiet.
With no information on this place, other than the forest views are great, it is likely to be a viewpoint or resting place for weary tourists. The first stop on our next episode will be Witch's Leap, the Falls, in Fern Gully, so I'll speak more on it then. We visited 6 places today: the Duke and Duchess of York Lookout, the Watchtower, Solitary Lookout, Katoomba Falls Lookout, Orphan Lookout, and Witch's Leap Lookout. You don't have to do this all in one day. Take your time and fully enjoy the outdoors, the sunshine, the fresh air, the wonderful vistas, but most of all, stay safe by familiarising yourself with our safety instructions at the end of this episode.
In our next episode, we continue our walk along the round walk from the Katoomba kiosk to visit more lookouts and waterfalls. Cheers for now.
See you later.
Bye.
Whatever way you discover the Blue Mountains, we want you to have a safe and enjoyable experience. Whether you drive, catch public transport, or cycle to the destinations we visit here, some walking is necessary. The walks are usually short, but can contrast greatly, so you need to be aware of the risks. Have a safe and enjoyable sightseeing experience at these lookouts and waterfalls. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to be alerted when next we visit the Blue Mountains.